All right. Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me fine? Great. Morning. All right, we'll just wait for equities open together and yeah. We'll see what happens at equities open. As of right now, there's nothing that's super interesting to me. There's a 15-minute SMT on the low. That's about it. I'd like to see a 5-minute SMT if possible. And then look for higher prices. Any rules regarding trading FOMC? I just trade as normal, to be honest. Although tomorrow is a bank holiday, so that's something to be aware of. But nonetheless, I just follow my model. We'll see where it brings me. No, I don't count body wicking as SMT. I know some people do, but I personally do not. Yeah, good reaction for scalping. Yeah, it's not something I've really backtested, to be honest. I think I have before, but it wasn't super high probability, which is why I don't use it. What's up, Krishna? I have a bullish bias based upon the higher time frame order flow, but I'm confused, struggling. I'm not sure. Yeah, as of right now, I'm also waiting. But when it comes to entry model, I just like to refer to time-based liquidity SMT and then change the state delivery. That's like the simplest form. But I'm gonna be making a video on the components of a market maker model, and then I'll just name the video like understanding this will make ICT easy. And then another video I want to do is entry model. That's very easy to follow. Yeah, it's bank holiday tomorrow. I'm looking for a long as of right now. I just want to see a 5-minute SMT if it can form with the displacement higher at equities open. That would be ideal. So if price can just dig lower and then shoot higher. Should I just play Brawlhalla while I wait? Studio mode.
A mini screen of you.
No, actually.
Brawlhalla.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm literally gonna do that right now. Okay, wait. Let me add that source. New source, game capture. Little Brawlhalla tab at the bottom, you know what I'm saying? Oh, this is fire. Okay, wait. We transition. You guys can see my game.
Yeah, I see it.
Alright, you guys will watch me play. You guys can continue to chat. I can still see the chat, so bro, I'm locked in. There's nothing to do right now. I think that's the most locked in you can be when you know there's nothing to do. The game name is Brawlhalla. Oh my gosh, the input lag is crazy when I'm streaming. No. I'm locked in, bro. I'm watching the charts. Okay, we're going lower. Do we create that SMT that we're looking for? Okay, wait, here we go. SMT. 2 minutes. It seems like Super Smash. Yeah, it's like it's a version of it basically. The platform fighter. Look, yeah. So right now there's a London low SMT. I'm waiting for a 5-minute SMT on the low, and if there is one, then I'll take a long after a change of state delivery. Is there a high SMT? No, not as of right now, or at least I didn't see one. Let's check. I don't think there's an SMT on the high though. No. Right now the only thing is London low SMT, where ES took out the London low, Nasdaq failed to, YM took it out. I'm just waiting to see if we can get that 5-minute SMT on the low now with this previous 90-minute low, get a change in state delivery after that, and then that's going to be my entry. So I gotta wait at least 5 minutes here for equities open. So just be patient here. Once again, not a lot of SMT. I think actually I'm not even gonna drop down to the 1 minute. But as of right now, all I see is that all three are trading into the 90-minute low. Preferably, I'd like to see one asset close below because all three have a wicked out the low. So if we get a candle closure, then we'll get like a wick to body or a hidden SMT for a long. Three and a half minutes. Actually, I think here we're gonna have to wait at least like 8 minutes because even if we do get that SMT, we're gonna have to wait for a change to delivery, which will take another 5 minutes. Oh, day is going. It's dumping. Still no SMT for me though, so might be bearish. Actually, we'll see. Look at YM. Although there are like perfect equal lows on the daily chart right now, which usually serves as a pretty good draw on liquidity. The puts are up is crazy. Yeah, we'll see how YM closes here, but it's not looking bright for longs, I'll be honest. Is dumping. Actually, it didn't even dump that much. It dumped like 60 points. Okay, let's turn off the game real quick and see what's going on. No SMTs of significance to me, so. On the 90-minute SMT, look for 5-minute change state delivery on daily. Yeah, exactly. That's what I look for. I don't even know what trade to look for now, though, to be honest. And I just fell. 15-minute SMT looks like it's about to be invalidated if we close below here in 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes, and then 5 minutes already been invalidated. I mean, YM still has it. If NQ is able to push all the way back up here, create change state delivery, then I'll take a long here. So I guess we just gotta be patient. Wait at least 4 minutes here. And then if this one fails to close above this down close candle, then I'll wait another 5 minutes. I'm looking for longs right now for the most part, but after this open, I want to see quick displacement higher. Otherwise, I don't think there's really going to be much opportunity for me. Yeah, YM's currently the strongest asset. What is change state delivery? Change state delivery is the activation of an order block. So how I look at it is when you have a down, like right now I'm bullish, right? So if I have a down close candle that sweeps out sell side liquidity, that engulfing that down close candle is the change in state delivery. Yes, this is exactly what I want to see. I want to see this continue to push higher if possible, and then that's going to be the long. Does body close factor into change state delivery? Yes, so I want to see body closure above the opening price of the order block. ES has no wick, that's true. Will you trade YM if the strongest or still enter on NQ? We'll see. I'm probably going to enter on NQ though. What's your protocol for FOMC and red folder days? So FOMC specifically, I just trade it as normal. But other red days, I just let it pass because they usually happen at 8:30. And then I just start looking for opportunities at 8:35. Why not YM longs? I mean, you could, but I just personally don't really trade YM. This is looking pretty good so far, though. So as of right now, gold. I don't really trade gold, so I don't really know what to say about it. But I think shorts look good. Maybe. Like, let's see. The only thing I can really see right now is like the SMT on the high right here, which makes me lean bearish. But for the most part, I feel like gold's just been trending higher. So if I were to give like a long-term look, it's technically still bullish inside of this bullish range. But given that there's an SMT on the high here, I don't know if it's bullish or not. Once again, I don't trade gold, so I wouldn't really know. These equal highs look good though. I'm just entering on the 5-minute. I never go below the 5-minute. Yeah, let's do like a top-down analysis on gold. Actually, I can't even do a top-down analysis. What is this? What is this? It just went up. I mean, I guess you could look for this higher here if you use this dealing range here. I don't know. I really don't know. Gold's confusing me now. So if this candle closes above this red line, then I'll get in on a long. All right, so we wait another 5 minutes now. Can you please give an example of how you use the daily power of 3 in your trading? I don't use the daily power of 3. I mean, I guess like overall picture, I do, but I don't intentionally use the power of 3, if that makes sense. All I use is market structure, dealing ranges, and SMT. Do you swing trades, bro? Sometimes. Depends. If usually how it happens is if I get in an intraday trade and it starts running in my favor, then I'll turn it into a swing. But other than that, I don't intentionally execute on the higher time frames. Okay, so if this closes above here, then I'm gonna take a long and then just look for my framework's long. And like Stan said, looks like the same trap as yesterday. It doesn't matter. It's my framework. I'd look for something probably along the lines of this, just because it's part of my model. Yes, that is true. A dealing range is a range which is formed after market sweeps both sell side and buy side. That is true, but the way I use dealing range is through market structure as well. So if all 3 markets are moving in tandem, for example, then I'll refer to that specific dealing range. My bias is long. I'm looking for a buy. So we'll see if the market wants to give it to us here. I don't know why I just canceled my order. What the heck was that? So 2 minutes here. Just waiting for a market. If it wants to close above, then I'll take it. One minute, 50 seconds. Sorry, I'll re-chat in like a minute here. I just want to make sure this candle actually, if it confirms, then I get a good entry here because I have to execute on multiple accounts. And on top of that, I have to execute on the stream so that you guys know which position I'm in. All right, I'm in. Just let me make sure my stop loss is adjusted accordingly. Should be 4 contracts. All right, so what I'm paying attention to now is is price able to trade into these highs and continue pushing through these. And that's ideally what I want to see, is price push through it with speed and then continue supporting from these levels. These are going to be your bullish breaker blocks. Where you putting my stop loss? It's this yellow line right here. So once again, trading into these highs, are we able to start pushing aggressively through these? Especially with why I'm already trading through the previous 90-minute range high. I'd like to see ES and NQ also attempt to push through these highs. And now there's nothing to do. I followed my model. I'm in the trade. I just gotta trail my stop if it allows me to. I'm at peace. There's nothing much more to it, guys. Welcome to trading. Follow rules. Continue to follow rules when you're in a trade. When you're out of a trade, continue to follow rules. That's all it is. Do you zoom into 1 minute? No, I don't. I just enter off the 5-minute. So here we close this candle at 9:45. It closed above this order block. 9:30 candle. Change state delivery. That's my entry. So we're literally off the 5-minute chart. I just entered this. Yes, Aaron. That's usually how it goes. If you lower risk, you have less anxiety. So preferably, I'd like to see NQ start catching up to why I'm here, because trading into London high now. But either way, there's nothing for me to do other than wait. Not a fan of this reaction to these highs, not gonna lie, but once again, there's nothing for me to really do here other than wait for this to play out. Why do you usually take trades pre-session open? I don't usually take trades pre-session open. It just depends on what time is their volatility injection, and then I just start looking for opportunities 30 minutes before the first volatility injection of the day. What's your cutoff time while trading New York AM? So today, because it's FOMC today, I'd say my cutoff time would be 11. But typically, whatever volatility injection, like what session that occurs in, I just trade the entire session. So let's say there's volatility injection during AM session, then I'll just trade the entirety of AM session 30 minutes prior to the first injection. So let's say the news event is 8:30, then I'll start looking at 8 AM all the way to 12 PM. You don't wait for retest, you just enter. Yeah, I just enter. Just to be a part of the move, I don't really wait for retraces. I used to wait for retraces, but oftentimes I would just miss the move because the retrace never happens. So my model pretty much just tries to capitalize off of explosive moves. Which time frame will you look for bearish SMT for the market to turn your bias into a bearish for long term? So it's not necessarily like a specific time frame and SMT that makes me lean bearish. It's about the overall context, right? So it's like the monthly chart in my eyes right now is bullish. The daily chart is a little, in my opinion, it's a little more indecisive in my eyes. So right now I could see it going either way on the daily chart. But in terms of the narrative on the 90-minute chart, for me, the intermediate term is because we have an SMT with external range low, I'm pretty much just looking for higher prices. And so once again, I guess it's not necessarily a specific time frame. It's about the narrative of price, of where's my framework stemming from. So right now my framework is stemming from the 90-minute chart. There's SMT with external range low, so I'm looking for external range high. That makes sense. So it's not necessarily like I'm waiting for this time frame for this SMT. It can change dependent on that narrative. Ethan, can I ask you what got you consistent with your wins and losses in terms of your process? Was it prepping the day before you trade? Did you change anything to help you get that consistency? I think it's just about having like a clear framework to follow on a daily basis. And it's also about just accepting that in the game of trading, like you're guaranteed to lose. So once you really process that in your mind, it's kind of like if you take losses, it's just a part of the process. And if you're taking losses long term, then over time you'll be able to journal those recurring events and then improve upon it, right? But if you don't have a consistent system and you're just kind of trading off vibes every single day, then there's likely nothing that's very consistent there for you to journal every single day. But if you have a framework, let's say I trade market maker models, then that's my framework. I'm looking for a market maker model. Or I trade SMT. That's the framework I'm looking for every single day. But you just have to stick to something so that you can learn how to trade around that specific thing, right? Everything in trading works at the end of the day. Trend lines work, EMAs work, VWAP works, but it's about how much time you're willing to spend with that one thing. Does it resonate with you? And you have to be able to trade around that one thing. Does that make sense? So that's what made me consistent is one, accepting losses as it is. As long as I'm following the framework in my model, it doesn't matter if I take a loss. I could care less if I take a loss as long as I'm building good habits. That's all that matters to me, right? So if I were to sum it up, I'd say the things that help me biggest with long-term success is one, risk management is really important. Limiting your downside as much as possible. And then if you limit your downside, your equity curve can really only go one way, right? And then, so I'm going to actually trail my stop to this swing low right here, just to mitigate a tiny bit of risk. And now I only have, 0.5 R at risk right now for that reduction because my position sizing only allowed me for like 0.8 R risk on this trade specifically. So yeah, I say one is limiting downside and like having impeccable risk management, the best risk management you could possibly have in your model. And then two is having a system that you can follow on an everyday basis. That way you can journal the consistencies of that model. And even if you're taking losing trades with that model every single day, there are going to be recurring patterns. Like, how do I keep losing? And you can start refining your trading plan that way. So I think those are the two biggest things for me. Is the SMT on our 90-minute time frame a time-based SMT? Let's take a look. Not that I see, because when I look at the 90-minute chart, it's like I'm using the hourly chart. So I only look at previous day high, previous day low. But this would be a 5-minute SMT because it's referring to the previous 90-minute range high and low. And here you can see NASDAQ closed below, YM failed to close below. So that's why I'm looking at this as a 5-minute SMT on the low. So as of right now, for those, this is my, it's already on screen, but just showing you, this is my position on my accounts. And I trailed my stop loss to this swing low on the 5-minute, where this yellow line is now. What's my TP? It's previous week high, all the way up here. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and move stops to break even here. And the reason why I'm moving stops to break even, wait, let me, no overlap, okay. So the reason why I'm moving stops to break even here is because there's really no like fair value gaps or anything to refer to on the way up. So I just want to protect myself because we also took out this previous 90-minute high. I'd like to see price accelerate past buy side liquidity, right? So these are the liquidity pools. I'd like to see NASDAQ try to catch up to YM if they're going to start moving in tandem and be explosive. So that's why I'm trailing to break even, just to mitigate that any potential loss, and then let this ride if it wants to push higher. Is it intraday trade or will you hold overnight? It depends. I'll just continue trailing my stop, and if it becomes a swing, then it'll become a swing. Is it better? Is it not better to stay not trading before FOMC? The reason why I trade AM session before FOMC is because FOMC is a PM session thing, right? So if you get a trade early on in the AM session, then typically it will be fine. The only thing you want to avoid is typically starting from 11 a.m. all the way to FOMC, which is 2 p.m. That's what you want to avoid because there could be some sort of accumulation between that time, setting up for FOMC. But if you get a trade earlier than 11 a.m., 10 a.m., I'd say, then I think it's perfectly fine from my experience at least. You avoided the bearish SMT that formed at the highs just because you were looking for bullish prices, or there's some other confluences? Quite literally, just my higher time frame narrative is bullish. That's why I'm looking for buys. Because all I'm doing on the lower time frame is looking for an entry confirmation, which is SMT and a change state delivery, or inversion, or true market structure shift. But what I'm really trading is just the higher time frame. So what's my 90-minute time frame telling me? What's my daily time frame telling me? What's my monthly time frame telling me? They're all leaning bullish for me, so that's why I'm looking for higher prices. I could be wrong, but I'm just following my system, right? You just need a system that can be repeated every single day over a long period of time, and you can journal it. If my model really isn't working over the next, let's say 2-3 months, then I'll do some refinements because the system has something to journal, right? That's consistent. And if I'm consistently losing, then there's going to be a common factor there, right? And then I'm going to refine that common factor. But if I don't stick to something, then I'll never have a common factor because everything keeps changing because the way I trade keeps changing. "90-minute is my intermediate term time frame. My higher time frames are monthly and daily as of right now." "You're so disciplined. Only through God's strength, man. Only through God's strength." But the thing is, if you don't have this kind of discipline, like, you can't expect to have consistency in the long run, right? Like, you just have to take a hard look at the mirror and ask yourself, like, do you want to take this do you want to take trading seriously and make this your career? Because if you keep deviating from your original plan, it's not gonna work out. I hate to tell you, but it's just not gonna work out if you keep deviating over and over again. Because what that tells me as an educator, when someone is unable to follow their plan every single day, what that tells me is that they're not taking this seriously. And that's just like the truth. What's TML? Tomorrow. I use the same model every single day. Every single day. I never change. Congratulations, Ghost. Glad to hear it. What days would you expect volatility? Typically days with high impact news. But for the most part, I think you just gotta have a system to follow every single day. I don't think there's like a specific day that I expect volatility. Because from my experience, I've tried being like, oh, high impact news, there's gonna be volatility. It's just, it doesn't work like that. It's like you just gotta show up every day, execute your model, and sometimes it gives it to you, sometimes it doesn't. There's always going to be a game of chance in trading too, right? Sometimes there's high impact news on a red folder day, or sorry, high impact news, and you take a trade and it's super choppy, but sometimes there's no news at all and it's just the most expansive day you've ever seen in your life. So I've just learned from my experience that just show up every day, execute the same system over and over and over again, and if the market gives it to you, it'll give it to you. If it doesn't, then it is what it is. Welcome to trading. There's no certainty in this game. You just have to embrace the uncertainty, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's it. That's why we have a plan. Nice. Congratulations, Apex. If you guys tag me on Twitter with your wins, I'll repost it for you guys if you want. I don't use Bookmap. Nice, good stuff, Anthony. You use PSP as well. I sometimes do, but for the most part, just to keep it simple, once again, like for teaching purposes, I don't. I just keep it very simple when I teach. That's why I don't go below the 5-minute chart anymore, because I used to teach below the 5-minute, but it was just too confusing for developing traders. But yeah, if you guys want the publicity for any reason, then feel free to tag me on Twitter and then I'll just repost your stuff. Do you have a course? I do, but it's a private mentorship. The application form is in the description. I'm currently not accepting new students as of right now, but if you want to apply, you still can. The form is in the description. I'll be streaming again next Tuesday. Tomorrow's a bank holiday, so I won't be live. Oh, the big S&P you marked on 90-minute is that previous week? No, it's just with the external range low. That's all it is. It's nothing super significant. It's just because this dealing range right here, right? The low of that, NQ failed to sweep that out. ES and YM did. And that's why I look at that as a bullish SMT with a dealing range and looking for the opposing side of the dealing range. That's why I've been leaning bullish. I'm not ignoring you. I just missed it. That's my bad. Sorry. So right now I'm paying attention to this swing high. I think that's London high, right? Yeah, so this is London high. You guys can feel free to take a partial here if you really want to. I'm personally not going to. I'm just going to hold and wait to trail if it allows me to do so. Stopped me out at break even. It is what it is. But yeah, that's kind of, I'm just following my plan. Yeah, today's not my last trading day for the week. It's going to be my last YouTube stream for the week. I'm going to be live trading on Friday in Smart Trading Blueprint, which is Jesse's mentorship. I just go live in there for the community on Mondays and Fridays, which is why you don't see me live on YouTube. But if you're interested in STB as well, there is also that link in the description down below. So tons of options for you guys, but the reason why I go live on YouTube for free is just so you guys get some free value for those that can't necessarily afford the education or mentorship. I would advise against trading tomorrow because it's a bank holiday. I just say take the day off, enjoy your days tomorrow, and then come back on Friday. Yeah, I trade my personal exactly the same way as my props. Thanks, Neil, for the kind words. All glory to God, man. 5-minute time frame, 6:15, 7:45. I wouldn't consider that as long as it's like the only SMTs I consider are time-based liquidity. So the previous 90-minute candles, high and low, you have an SMT with that. And that's the only SMT I'll use on the 5-minute. Yeah, Aaron. Is the volatility lower on bank holiday? Yeah, because there's no banks trading tomorrow, right? So you expect lower volatility for the most part. Like if there's any day that I expect no volatility, it would be a bank holiday because there's no like there are no big players in the market pretty much. What concepts do I trade? I trade ICT. I trade market structure and ICT. Yeah, I look for opportunities on a daily basis. But once again, time and price is fractal, right? So you can really look for opportunities on any given scale if you have a set time, I guess. But for me, I usually just wait for intraday volatility injection to get me in on a trade. And then if this intraday trade turns into a possible swing trade, then I'll stay in it. What pairs do I trade? I trade everything, to be honest. I don't really trade gold, but I trade, for the most part, I'd say like Euro USD, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and index futures. But when it comes to Euro, like Forex, that's more like swing trades. If I haven't traded it in a while, but if I do swing trades, it would probably be these 3 markets as my main markets. Crypto, I don't really do it intraday. I do it more, once again, just like long-term swing. And then index future is what I intraday on. I remember you executing on 1 minute and 15 seconds. Since you moved away, do you think your overall win rate or RR improved? I think my RR got worse. I think my win rate pretty much stayed the same, I'd say. Or I think it is actually worse this year so far than last year at least. But my RR is definitely worse because I'm not dissecting price as much. But the reason why I go 5-minute lowest is because it's just a lot easier to teach and follow along for you guys. My gosh, my throat is dying. I'm sharing the reason behind this trade. So the reason why I'm looking for this long is because monthly chart's bullish. So I'm looking for higher prices overall for all-time highs. Daily chart was chopping around, so it's indecisive. So I just used the intermediate term time frame to look for direction on the daily chart because this is kind of just going sideways, right? So dropping down to the 90-minute chart, I have this dealing range drawn from last week pretty much. And NQ created equal lows, whereas ES and YM took out the external range low. So that's a SMT with external range liquidity. I'm looking for the opposing external range liquidity, which happens to be previous week high, which is why I'm looking for that as a drawn liquidity right now. And then entry was just simply a 5-minute SMT on the low. Over here. With the previous 90-minute range low. I think it was something like this. Yeah, it was this. Where ES and NQ closed below the previous 90-minute range low. YM failed to close below it. And so I was looking at that as an SMT. Once we got a change in state delivery with this down close candle right here, that was my entry. So 950, that's where I entered. For Forex trading, which session is the better, New York or London? I personally haven't traded London, so I wouldn't know. I also don't intraday Forex, so I also wouldn't know. Sorry to tell you that, but I don't know. You specifically draw the 90-minute dealing ranges. Yeah, I do it like on a. I guess it is discretionary to some degree, but the framework I follow to make it more mechanical is pretty much just market structure, right? If all three markets are moving together, then I can draw a dealing range. So I'm just gonna use 2 markets here, so it's a little easier. So let's say there's 2 markets and they're making dealing ranges or market structure. So let's say they're both making higher highs, then I know that I can draw a new dealing range because they're moving together, right? But in the case that one market fails to take out the swing high, so let's say here it fails to take out this swing high, and this was the previous dealing range's external range high, then I'll leave my dealing range here. And because there's a SMT with that dealing range high, I'm looking for the opposing side of this dealing range, which would ultimately be this low, right? So that's pretty much the framework I'm using right now. Is if I invert this, right? NASDAQ failed to take out this low, create equal lows. ES and YM took out this low. So that's why I'm looking for this high right now. Why did you stop posting videos on here? They're so informative. Honestly, I ran out of things to post. I felt like I posted everything I needed to post on my model already. Like everything about my models on my YouTube channel. But I think I'm gonna start posting more stuff like how to find the dealing range, how to understand the narrative of price, like videos like that. So it's more about teaching you guys how to critically think in the market rather than giving you a straight up pattern to follow every single day. My TP is previous week high. It's it's pretty far. But I'm just trailing my stop loss as it slowly trades towards it. If it wants to trade toward it, then I'll continue trailing. But as of right now, there's no reason for me to trail yet, which I'm not complaining about, but also it does kind of suck a little bit because if it comes all the way back down to break even, it is what it is. If you want, you could just trail your stop loss below this breaker block right here. So your stop would be at 22042.50. You could put your stop loss there, but I'm personally just going to keep following my model. Now that all indices have closed above London high, can we look for higher prices? Yeah, so with the closure above previous session high, which is London high, invalidating this bearish SMT, I just look for continued higher prices. And that's why in this long, I'm just going to hold it. Because ultimately, my framework is looking for this high. So if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it is what it is, right? Okay, so this is good. So honestly, with this wick low right here, I wouldn't be afraid to kind of trail up to this wick low, just because I wouldn't want price to kind of trade back below that. So this is where I'm trailing my stop to right now. How many R's is this? Let me just check real quick. Yeah, so that's a 2R trade secured based on the trailing stop loss already. So for those that took this, congratulations. What time do you stop looking at the chart? I stop looking at, typically I stop looking at like 11:30. But given that, like, whenever I'm in a trade, then I'll just keep watching it to manage the trade, and then until I get stopped out, pretty much. Or I'll just manage it on my phone. But if I take the trade on live stream, then I pretty much stay on until it's done, because for the most part, I don't want you guys to start doing emotional things in this trade that could screw you over. So I just stay here and manage the trade in front of you guys. Amazing. Glad to see it, guys. I'm perfectly happy if I get stopped here, to be honest. If it wants to run, it'll run. If it stops me out, I'm up 2R, I'm happy. And then just like that, 2R, I'm up 2K on the day. Beautiful. Yeah, I explained why I got in. If you want to rewatch when I executed on the trade, I think it was around... It was at 9:41 that I executed. Or 9:50. It's like right at the 9:45 candle closure that I entered. At one point, we formed a 90-minute bearish SMT with YM and NQ, but that SMT didn't work out. When does a SMT work out? It works out when your narrative is in alignment of it. Otherwise, you're just pattern trading, right? Looking for SMTs. Nice, good stuff, Zay. All right, so that's my stop right there. 2R on the day. I'm probably gonna head out here though. I do want to go to the gym, so. Great stream today, guys. Just let me make sure all my accounts are closed. Good. Lock out. All right. So on that note, forming narrative. Yeah, I have videos on my YouTube channel. I'll be releasing more content soon, but for any updates and stuff, feel free to follow my Twitter. It is in the description down below, and then I pretty much tweet everything that happens, like new uploads or when I go live, stuff like that. So on that note, thank you everyone for joining the stream as always. I'll see you guys on Tuesday next week. Tomorrow I'm not going live because it's a bank holiday. So take care everyone. Have a great day.